What's going on, guys? Another Sunday scan coming at you. No baby yet. Latest Monday. I wanted to get this scan out of the way. It's actually Saturday today that I'm doing this. I figured I'd get it out of the way ahead of time rather than potentially missing a Sunday. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. And in return, just as I've always said, Pascal Laplace, I'm going to do this ahead of time because lately I've been forgetting about it and then doing it at the end. You get a free month of Investors Underground. Now, the way that you get a free month of IU, Momo Traders, or shirts, which, as I've said, they've just been on delay on shipment, but everybody will get them and more. Is just because, like I said, my wife's pregnant. I'm not going anywhere. And the way you get them is by commenting, leaving your feedback, giving suggestions, whatever it may be, your biggest takeaway from the scan. I learn from you guys. Just like you learn from me, I learn from you guys, your biggest takeaways. Okay, well, that was a good point for them. So let me expand on it on the next video. So that's kind of, I'm taking what you guys are giving and trying to make these videos better and better. So it really helps me when you guys leave feedback. So I do appreciate that. Tonight's scan, the first part of it, obviously I always try to do some type of lesson first, then I get into the scan. Or at least some type of current event. The biggest, I think, most important thing to understand right now in this market is there is just a flood of new traders. Everybody's a trader. Everybody wants to be a trader. Everybody knows somebody's making money. Yeah, it's a great time to be making money. No doubt. Like, the market has never been like this before. I personally have never traded like this before. I've almost doubled my best year in the last, I guess, 3 months or so. And, that, knock on wood. But, that's a sign of the times, right? The action, the opportunities every single day is just unlimited. And it's up to you to not only recognize them, but also recognize when things are getting out of hand. There's a lot of traders that are making a ton of money now. New traders, I'm talking about. Tons of, Robinhood accounts, whatever you want to call them. I call them Robin Hooders. But, and no offense to them, but typically they like to chase things. I mean, just like we all did when we started. So that's why I call them that. But with that said, all these people that are making money is giving them the false sense that they are good traders. They're not. They're going to get a big lesson very soon. They're going to lose a lot of money very soon. Unless they start to listen to some of the things that, I've been going over. This week, I warned on Mark, VTIQ, CODX, as well as GNUS. And, 3 of them, 2 of them pulled back 50%. A couple of them pulled back 20, 30, 40%. So, the problem is new traders, and I'm talking about myself, back when I first started too. You see a trade, you get excited, it starts to go, and you miss it. And then it keeps on going, and you keep on missing it. And you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to buy it before I miss it. And then it's the 35, 36, whatever dollars on VTIQ. It's the $2.50 mark on Mark. It's the, buying the 32 breakout on Codex. So on and so forth. Or same thing with GNUS. This is going to be the next one to go to 5. Have zero idea what's going on with the vote, what's going on in the filings, what's going on with all these warrants and paper that's about to come out and just absolutely demolish shareholders. They have zero idea. But at some point, they will learn, and it's not going to be good. So if I can just influence one person to maybe take that step forward into kind of identifying what is a reckless trade and what is not, then I've done my job, and that's my goal here. So my point here is that if you're new, and I actually have a graph so if you, under the description, if you click the link, we always put the blog post as well. So you can go directly to the Investors Underground website, see my comments that I type out, as well as I have a Twitter embedded in there. But there was a graph there about just how exponential things are going right now. So there is a lot of bad decisions being made right now, which, as traders, like veteran traders like myself and many others in the room, we can take advantage of that right now. But you also have to take, one step back and understand that things might last a little bit longer, because it's, at the end of the day, it's all supply and demand, right? And if there's just so much demand of all these people that just want to be part of the next big thing, or they saw somebody else make a ton of money on something, and so they think that it's, the way to go, they're in for a big surprise. And, same thing, some people post, a bunch of P&Ls every single day. And, I had a conversation about it with one of my friends, and he's like, man, like such and such is making so much money and this and that. And I said, are you okay with losing 50,000? Are you okay with losing 100,000? Well, no. Okay. Then why does it matter? Because that is the risk when you're posting huge P&Ls, when you're making huge money. You got to understand the risk that's involved in the other side of that. And if that risk is not good for you, then don't let it impact you. Be inspired, but don't be influenced by that stuff. There's a lot of crap going on right now, even like marketing tactics and things like that. How to become a profitable trader in 30 days, and the one that I love most of all is testimonials from members. I've been here a week and I doubled my account. I've been here a month and I'm finally consistently profitable. Guys, you're in for a big surprise. And if you ever see people posting that kind of stuff, run away from people pushing testimonials from traders that have been consistent for a week or a month. Okay, the best traders I know were consistent for years and then they blew up. Consistent for a full year and then they blew up and then they kind of came back. Everybody at some point is going to hit a wall. Everybody at some point is going to have that defining moment in their career. I'm never going to allow this to happen again. And anybody that promotes anything other than that, suggesting that trading can be done and learned in 30 days, suggesting that all you have to do is join and within a week you're going to be a profitable trader and all this other crap. You guys need to be cautious of that. That's all low-hanging fruit type stuff. And, that's why we don't do it. We don't need more members. We have a lot of members, sure. But we do it because of the educational arm that we have and word of mouth. We don't, dangle the carrot with a P&L or dangle the carrot of, hey, if you join, this member just joined 3 days ago and they've been consistent since. So it's more of a public service announcement. Just be cautious what you're doing. Just be cautious following the P&Ls. Yeah, they're great. And yeah, you get excited about it. And yeah, you think, hey, if I just join this, that could be me. The vast majority of traders are not going to do that. The vast majority. Like 999 out of 1,000 people are not going to repeat that. So there is that one person that may, and that's great. But just keep that in mind. Keep your emotions in check and note that just because it's working now does not mean it's going to work next. And I did a speech in New York City at the Benzinga conference. I did a speech at the Market Rebellion conference in Vegas. And the point there was that a lot of times we get rewarded for reckless behavior. And, it's easy to always go back through our losses and figure out what we did wrong, right? It's clear. Something was wrong, we lost, what was it? But as I've said many, many times, it's better to actually go through your winners. Did I get from point A to point B by chance, because I got lucky, because I was most importantly reckless? And if so, what if it hadn't pulled back? What if it didn't bounce? What if it kept going? Would I have blown up? That's where you need to focus. And so that kind of goes right into Friday's SRNE. Everything's been working. Everything. Like, there's been no headaches in trading. There's been no, let's test our rules. Let's make sure that we're abiding by, you know, all these post-it notes that we have that, you know, stop out here, do this, do that, right? Everything has just been, you know, you short, it's been going down, you get long, it's been going up, and there hasn't been too many headaches lately. But SRNE comes in and it's like, hey, I'm just gonna pop up here and trap 500 million shares traded. And you know, I think that a lot of people were very confident because everything else has worked lately. It's been a no-brainer. Fade it. And that's why we saw that huge move. It went from 3 to 9 on 500 million shares. So fortunately, you know, it was one of those situations where I identified it extremely quickly. You know, I thought it was done. You know, I thought it was going to unwind after that PR. It cracked on the PR, so everybody was like, hey, you know, sell the PR, and that was it. And an hour later, it starts to come back. So that's the first clue. The second clue, I traded it a little bit, you know, just kind of dabbling in little small scalps. And typically, one of the strongest, abilities I would say that I have is, you know, kind of anticipating where things are going to flush to or break out to, right? You know, I'm very good at kind of anticipating that other side, where that peak level might be or where that bottom flush out may be. And when I don't get the covers, when, you know, if I short something and I'm trying to, you know, cover and it just misses me again and misses me again, even if I uptick a little bit, comes back down, misses me again, I take notes and I say, okay, this is one of those times that I got to swipe the offer. This is one of those times that I don't want to scale in. This is one of those times where I want to let this thing just steamroll everybody. And so because, you know, I kind of dabbled here and there on Friday, I was able to warn the chat. Most importantly, 580s. 580s was the huge trap. So we were talking about it in the Traders Lounge. I posted in the Momentum Room, you know, until 580s peaks, assume it's going, right? And we were talking about it in the Traders Lounge, and I said, if you're new, stay away until 580 is like this, right? Fail, 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 fail. If it's like this and holding base, you're asking for it. And so I waited for the parabolic, and as you saw, I posted the chart, and you know, ended up being a phenomenal opportunity. I wish we had one of those like that every single day, where you can literally trade any size that you're comfortable with. It was unlimited liquidity. But point here is that it was very easy to get loose in this market environment. What do I mean by that? I mean, everything's working. You know, there was a couple of those times where you were short something and it kind of ramped up and you were on your toes a little bit, but it worked out, you know, or it started to fade off, swiped up, but then it ended up fading off. But would you have stopped out if it kept on going? You don't necessarily know, right? You don't know how good your rules are until you test them. And so SRNE was the first time that it tested everybody's rules and made sure that you were respecting the trend. And last but not least, on that point, volume always trumps all on the front side of the move. So always remember that. You don't want to be the guy that exhausts on the front side of that move. Because if you do, you're going to miss the entire back side of the move. So I was very fortunate to, you know, kind of have identified that. I would have loved to get long, but I just don't trust it. So, you know, for me, I dabbled the front side a little bit and, you know, had a couple good trades, stopped out a couple times, but then hammered the backside as you guys saw. And, you know, that was fantastic. So we're going to see what happens on Monday. I mean, we could be 7, 8, 9, or we could be, you know, gap down under 650 or so. So 6, I don't know. But there's just so much volume. We're going to have to wait to see kind of what happens. But what else? Last week, Catalyst, BPMX, RTTR. Not typical names that I potentially trade, but again, adapting to market conditions. Everybody was all over 20, 30, 40, 50 cent names. Those two had a catalyst going into the vote. Typically, in the past, like I said, you know, they kind of ramp up. So they shot up pretty good. One of them almost doubled, and one of them I think went 20-30% or so. FWP was another one. The only downside was they changed the catalyst from June to, I think it was February 2021, if I remember correctly. But that thing started to rocket. But a newsletter came in at the top, as usual, at 12. They kept on buying on 12. So as I said in prior videos, you get that free look, right? So if they keep on doing buy, and it doesn't budge, you're getting that free look that all this buy side volume's coming in. Where do you think it's going to go when it doesn't break out? So that was a fantastic fade as well. I've been getting an increasingly number of DMs of, should I buy this? Should I sell this? Should I do this? Should I do that? If that's ever you, just before you take the trade, make sure you have that plan. This is the caliber of trader right now that is coming into the market. That is why things are holding. That is why things are squeezing. So be aware that that's what you're up against. People just buying whatever. If somebody says jump, they're jumping. So last note, intermediate series. I know it's taken like 17 years, but we bundled up the State of the Market webinar, made it even a little bit better, made it flow even better. And so make sure you guys check that out. I know I said it was coming on Monday, but Cam had lost power. So it was delayed a day. But amazing feedback so far. And, make sure you guys do check that out. Spend the time the rest of this weekend, or spend the time this week watching that series. That's number 3. And for those of you guys first time watching this Sunday scan, just know we have a completely free 8-part beginner series. So that's totally free. Very, very good value add. One of the most popular on YouTube, over 1 million plus views. And always get solid feedback. So I want you guys to make sure, if you guys are just getting into trading, just getting into the market, go through that. It's free. There's so much free content online that can just get you that little bit of a foundation, so you're just a notch above all these other retail accounts that we're talking about. So anyway, that's that. Let's get back into scan here. Like I said, we got a lot of craziness going on, but it's up to us to condense it. And one of the biggest things for me that's been working super well is those price alerts. So setting those price alerts. And I've been going over on the broadcast, on the microphone every morning, how I set them, how I look, different levels. I don't care about it ping-ponging between, 2 little levels. I want to know when it breaks out or breaks under. And as they hit new levels, I keep on adding new price alerts. Or as it passes 72, 73, 74, I add 73 to the downside, 72 to the downside, and so on and so forth. Because when that trend changes, I want to be there. And that's how DG, OG, LVGO, that's how we nailed those moves. So let's get into it. SRNE. 500 million shares traded. So, we got to see what happens on Monday. There's no reason to make a plan right now. There's going to be an opportunity. The key levels that I set price alerts for, you can see this, draw a line across. You're going to want to know at 760, 750s. You're going to want to know at probably about 650s, 630s, and then 580s. And, 580s was that big trap level that I talked about. So as you saw, it pretty much trapped 586, and when it flushed out, it based right at that level. So that's going to be the key for kind of the spot that it starts to unwind, the spot where it starts to fade off radar. And when everybody forgets about it under 580, that's when I'm interested. So this is going to be a big opportunity, but I would, just like I said in the room, if you're new, avoid it. These are the kind of situations where you're going to either double your account or you're going to cut it in half. So be cautious on that one. ACB, this was a fantastic trade. I got long at the open. That was the goal. Ideally, dips versus 750, and I compared it to RAD. I compared it to APRN, and NVAX. So these were all reverse split names. And so if you go back, even any of these big moves over here, or even this move right here, before it was really a thing, before it became NVAX that we know today, this always had some huge moves on the front side. But then after the volume or whatever the news passed, it was thick, and just completely unwound. Same thing, RAD. RAD I talked about many times. Again, huge moves, post-reverse split, super, super, super thick name, but traded super thin. And then the same thing, APRN, after the reverse split. We actually had one move over here, which super thin. And this one I would say was probably closest to the same, right? Where it squeezed up to 1365 this day and then faded off. So my point here is that you don't want to get too bullish with ACB. So ACB is just a reverse split short squeeze off of the earnings report that they had. Whether or not it would have even moved if they didn't do the reverse split, who knows? But things you need to know. One, we talked about how, they trap everybody. This is pretty much the lows, right? Before the reverse split. So then it dropped about 40-50%. So anybody that was shorting that big gap was shorting at 52-week lows. But they were shorting because it was up $1, $2, $3. They think it's up too much. And meanwhile, it's like hammering something at 52-week lows. Well, if it just bounces a little bit, 10, 20%, it could squeeze big, and it did. So again, I would look left, your key levels, 1350s, just actually like APDN was. APRN, just like I just showed you on APRN. Not this move, but this move. So same level as that. But my point is that this can end just as fast as it starts, right? So if this starts to base and, starts to kind of hold 1040s and ramp back 1060s, 1070s and push towards 11, yeah, we've got a potential trade, 12, 13, maybe higher. But as soon as it starts to fail, doesn't mean hammer it, but just don't underestimate how far it can unwind back, right? A lot of times these just completely go back to where they came from. It was just that one last hurrah. We just had this on CHK. You guys just saw it. We actually had a good trade on it on Friday, but you just saw it here too, where it dropped 50%, and then it did a huge rally from basically 13 to 40, right? So this should not be a surprise to anyone that's in the room. The comparisons are very similar, and it gets you prepared. And when things don't die off, when they come back under VWAP and then they squeeze back out, same thing with ACB, where they come back, trap at VWAP, and then head back up. That's all stuff that you should be prepared for based on the commentary, based on the history, remembering, seeing things happen over and over. So same thing on Monday. Watch dips. I don't want to be a chaser into breakouts, but if it should have pulled back, starts to base, starts to grind, I'm interested on dips. And then with that said, if we have trouble, if we gap up 11, 1120s, starts to fade off under 1070s, I'm interested versus 11, 1120, something like that for the fade. And don't underestimate that it's super thin on the front side, and then it'll just slowly go down, slow but surely. Pen I put as a main watch. It's nothing I'm crazy excited about. It just feels like we're very near a trade, and it's filled this gap. We might have that little breakout over 20. Everybody gets excited. 21, 22, and sit back. And I'd love to trade that move. Or if it fails here, potential pullback $1 or $2. It reminds me a lot of that CCL trade that we took, where it was an obvious breakout, no brainer. Squeeze time, coming right back up into prior resistance, and then that was it, right? So as soon as it makes perfect sense, what I've seen anyway, going back to the market calls, going back to the CCL call and a few other things, as soon as it makes perfect sense to buy, that's usually the best sell. right? Lately anyway, because that's a liquidity event. Everybody is super, super excited. It's going to break out. It's going to break out. Time to buy before it goes to the, the moon. That's the best time for liquidity to come in and them to, exit. And that's what we've seen over and over again. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about on this pen. But we will see. And, let's see how it works. DFFN. This one I'm a little sour on. I had so many at 38, 40, 42, 45. And I actually swung it for quite some time. I had sold out this move all but a third. Got really long, this gap up. I sold. I felt like, all right, I nailed it. And then, it just never looked back. So higher the better. This could go 2, 3. I don't know. But the trade that I would be interested in is if it gaps up and it has trouble at 150. I'd look for it to fade off. UNFI daily, you can see, these wicks are opposite the ones we look for, right? If we're looking for a breakout, we're looking for it to dip in the wicks to, come up. This is a ramp up and then pull back, right? This wick. So that means there's selling pressure. So I'd be looking for all pops versus probably 19s, 1880s, and then potential unwind. But they blew out earnings, so there is definitely reason for it to hold up. But it has had a big move. So the other thing to note here is just don't get too aggressive in one way or the other. Take the trade, move on. Everybody wants to always nail the stock that they nailed yesterday. But sometimes that's when you get caught. That's when you get chopped. So learn to take advantage of the moves, take advantage of the momentum on that given day, and then, get out, move on, take it off radar. GNUS, you've got to be super cautious on this thing. I've talked about it in depth about, everything that they just voted on. Great short opportunity, great action on Friday. If you're trading a name like this, you should be on either the conference call, the webcast, whatever it may be that gives you that edge. Some people didn't even know, they were voting. Some people weren't even prepared at 1. But because I was involved and because I, was paying attention, they voted down the increase in authorized shares. So that could be seen as a slight positive. And so then it ripped up. So I was able to box the trade. If you don't know what boxing is, I can leave a link in the description as well. But I was able to box the trade, make nice on the long, and then end up net short. And so with that said, great opportunity. And, just really know what you own. We talk about this all the time. Know what you own. So higher the better. I think this could be a crowded trade, so I think it's going to be a little choppy. But be aware, know what you own, and don't bag hold. FTCH, higher the better. It doesn't look like much. This is one of those where I'd like to just kind of join the trend, 9:45, 10 a.m. plus. MRNA, this one is just a pain to trade. Fading it, had great entries. I was up, really nicely on the lows, kind of a mini celebration in my head, like, yes, finally nailed it. Swipes right back up. Yep, nope, not up anymore. So, great opportunity. So hopefully we continue to have big action there. The keynotes, 6550s. 6550s is where you want to pay attention to, and about 6450s. So that's where I would be setting my price alerts, as well as maybe 6750. Otherwise, I don't want to be involved in the chop, because you're gonna get chopped. It's a very hard name to trade. Now I have CODX, but I have a bunch of other names: CODX, APDN, AIM, ALT, and APT. And if you didn't catch those, again, links in the description. You can click the blog post. You can see everything written out. But all of them, I want higher the better. Higher the better, unwind. That's the goal. And let people short and pre-exhaust. Be aware when things start to go sideways and pop up. But be there to be reactively trading, just like alt on Friday. If you can't see that this is basing and not breaking down, and you're fighting this thing, then you're going to be covering in a panic into this ramp. And as you saw, I posted the chart on Twitter, but I was able to short here because I wasn't in a panic. I had covered. So because of that, I know where I would be bailing. If I was short or oversized, I'd be freaking out into that. So that's why I started into the position. Great pullback into the close. Same thing on Codex, APDN, AIM, ALT, APT. Same thesis, same kind of names, same kind of trades. Off radar, they're probably boring for people, but these I like to kind of get on the right side. I don't need to be sized up. Let them work when I'm trading other things. And then I have 3 others, and then just ones that I'm staying familiar with. So ONCY, there's nice accumulation the last couple days. We talk about these wicks a lot. Dip, buyer, dip, buyer, dip, buyer. And you can see the volume associated with that. They have a catalyst on Friday. So just like BPMX, RTTR, all those things went big into the catalyst. Considered a buy or run up, whatever you want to call it on these. I think 220, 225 are obviously the key levels. And then if it breaks the chart resistance, 235 or so is the VWAP, 250s, etc. So that was one chart that's setting up. CBAY we've been talking about. I'm going to start to watch for those same wicks. 420 is that level that to me has been a pretty key level. And last but not least, CBLI, you can see this little setup. So again, all 3 potentials, nothing I'm crazy excited about, but let the price action, prove to you that, it agrees. CBLI had earnings yesterday, so that's why it maybe is holding. I don't even know if earnings really matter at this point. It's just, we have millions of new traders in the market and they're just looking for something to trade. So anyway, I'm just looking for chart setups that are starting to curl off the lows. So those 3 all kind of met that parameter. A couple of them have catalyst. A couple of them already did. And last but not least is my section where I say staying familiar. And you guys can go through those. Again, link is in the description. But just like my trade on LVGO and DDOG that I posted, I wouldn't have seen that if I didn't stay familiar with these names. So, right now, I'm staying familiar with this FERR chart. I'm staying familiar with this CHGG chart, FSLY, DKNG. DKNG has been a great trade. If you've been respectful of it. I had a great trade Friday. I covered only half, and then I let it squeeze me out on the rest, which was frustrating. But, again, don't step in front of it. Don't fight it, and you'll be, just fine. 1M, nice breakout. And NVAX, staying familiar. TWOU, steady up. Finally, actually filled that gap. So that's going to be interesting. And then JD was nice to us on Friday. Great friendly trader, great range lately. So again, I don't have game plans for those last ones. These are ones that I will go into the room. I will set up my price alerts, and then when it's time for me to trade them, I'll be alerted. And just like LVGO, if you guys remember, this one had a great unwind. May not look like much, but a $5, $6 move, even if you only had 1,000 shares, it's still a pretty good payday. So that's where my head's at for this weekend. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the weekend. I may or may not see you in chat Monday, Tuesday, but I do plan on obviously trading. I may be a little bit tired at times, but other than that, market has been fantastic. Again, rewatch the start of this. If you're new, no offense to anybody that's new that's making good money. Congrats. But you're probably going to lose it if you keep on taking the same reckless trades and getting rewarded for reckless decisions. So that's the only point. I applaud anybody that is jumping into this venture. I applaud anybody that is doing well. But I caution you that it goes away just as quick as it comes if you don't actually have a strategy. So make sure that, every trade that you take can kind of fit into one of those category trades. And you all should have some type of understanding of what type of trade or trade category it is. If you don't, I talked about that as well. in one of the videos on this YouTube series. So that's it. See you guys next week.